I'm Kevin, the lab guy, and today we're going to talk about 6 of our core beers. These are house beers. We have Sunlight Cream Ale, Osiris Pale Ale, Wemax Scottish Ale, Pechanga Mexican Lager, Keller Haze or Hazy Ipa, and newest beer is Orange Vanilla Sunlight Cream Ale. So we're going to go through all these beers today, talk about the styles of the beer, the flavors of the beer, and a little bit of information about them, how to describe what you're actually tasting in these products. So first up is our Sunlight Cream Ale. This beer is about 5.3% ABV, about 15 IBUs. It is our flagship beer. It is our best seller. This is the beer that we're kind of known for. ABV is alcohol by volume. That is how much alcohol is in your product. If you have 100 mils of beer and it is 5% ABV, that means that 5 mils of that 100 is ethyl alcohol or ethanol. IBU is International Bitterness Units. It is a measure of how bitter the beer is. When we boil our wort, we add our hops. Hops do 3 things to a beer depending on when they're added to the boil. Very beginning of the boil, they add bitterness. Middle, they add flavor. And at the end, they add aroma. So we talk about IBUs. We care more about that first addition. That's our biggest addition of bitterness. And we need some bitterness in beer. All beers are at least a little bit bitter because otherwise they'd be very, very sweet. The IBU number is a quantifiable value that is based on the amount of hops that are added to the kettle during the brewing process. The scale goes from 0 to technically infinity, but in the realm of beer drinking, about 100 IBUs is where the human palate can no longer taste anything more bitter. So, Sunlight Cream Ale, again, brilliant clarity, golden straw color, crackery, biscuity, very light sulfur note. If you ever get sulfur out of beer, that's a sign of freshness. Yeast produce a lot of sulfur compounds, so a really fresh beer will have always a light tinge of sulfur to it. Moderate sweetness, medium carbonation, really just tasty, kind of all year round crushing kind of beer. Moving on, Osiris Pale Ale. This is our house pale ale. We always say that this is the beer that our brewmaster, Dave Colt, kind of made for us and the brewers to drink after our days. This is probably the quintessential American beer, is the American Pale Ale. It is full of West Coast, Pacific Northwest, I guess, hops, primarily a variety called Cascade. This is a slightly more bitter beer. It is about 5.5% ABV and about 50 IBUs. So it'd be much more bitter than the cream ale. We use a little bit of rye in this beer, so there's a light, spicy, delicate note to it. But the hops are just this really bright, assertive, citrusy grapefruit flavor. We do a process called dry hopping, where hops are added after fermentation in the fermenters themselves. This allows just the flavors of the hops to kind of be expressed in the beer without contributing any bitterness. A little more orangey, light amber color, creamy white head, good clarity. Yeah, candied orange peel. Light toastiness made from the malt, a little bit of rye, bright grapefruit. Yeah, great level of carbonation, medium body, almost a light piney resinous character on the finish there too. Really classic West Coast American Pale Ale. Oh. I'm gonna finish this later, don't worry. Next up is our Wemax Scottish Ale. This is our darkest beer that we make year round. It is a Scottish style ale, very much a kind of a European flavor to it. It is made with English ale yeast, a lot of caramel malts, a lot of crystal malts, a type of coffee malt, so a little roasty, a little sweet, a really great kind of segue for the non-craft beer drinker to show them that not all dark beers are big and heavy or too bitter or too roasty. A very light, sessionable, easy drinking kind of dark beer. ABV is around 5.3%, IBUs are about 20, so about as strong as cream ale, not any bigger than that beer is. Maybe a little more bitter, but that's just to kind of counteract the amount of sweetness from the types of malt we use. Darker color, but still you can see through. Bright light, you get a little bit of amber hue to it. Like rich mahogany. And the nose on Wemax is one of my favorite aromas on the planet. It's caramel, toffee, hazelnut, almost like a cherry cola kind of flavor to it. Yeah, medium light body, light carbonation, just these sweet flavors of almost candy-like kind of consistency to it. Really, really delicious beer. Goes great with spicy chicken wings. Up next is our Pechanga Mexican Lager. This is a really fun beer because this is one of the beers that everyone in production had a hand in initially. Turned out great. Everyone loved it for the anniversary. We decided to make it again and again and again and again and again. So now it's one of our house beers. It is probably the beer that is drank the most often by everybody around here because it is only about 4% ABV, 4.2% ABV. Low IBU is about 24. To make it a Mexican lager, we use a Mexican style yeast. It is from a brewery in Mexico City that makes a lot of lagers. Let's call them a model. Hop variety we use is a species called Bravo hops. Bravos are a unique hop because the main flavor profile of Bravo hops is lime. And what goes better in a Mexican beer than a lime? So if you ever taste lime in Pechanga, not because there's any lime to it, it's just the hop variety that we chose to use. The lightest straw yellow you can see, nice light white head, brilliant clarity, very light lime character, but fresh lime, not like a lime concentrate or lime flavored candy or something. It's a fresh lime zest aroma. Light bodied, great carbonation, flavorful. Such a light beer to have that much flavor is just a beautiful thing. Hazy IPA. This is one of our newer beers to our core lineup. If you have been in the craft beer scene for more than 6 months, you might have heard of Hazy IPAs being a very popular style of beer. They started kind of in the East Coast, the Vermont, New Hampshire area. Basically, they are IPAs that kind of do away with all the bitterness. So when you're brewing this beer, very few hops are added during the boil. A lot of it's added either at the very end of the boil or in the fermenter itself. So a ton of hop flavor with almost no bitterness. This beer clocks in at about 30 IBUs and has almost twice the amount of hops as Osiris, but it's all flavor additions, which is a really neat concept. We use 3 varieties, Citra, Mosaic, and Cascade. ABV is about 6.2%, so it's still in that lower end of the IPA range. Just still drink a few of them and not need to call an Uber home. IBUs, again, about 30 IBUs, but a ton of hops, and the IBU number stays so low because the hops are not added in the boiling process. They're added all later on. Hazy color, light white head. But yeah, bright, just tropical, mango, pineapple, passion fruit, a little bit of candied orange peel. And the body feels thicker because there's still yeast and hop matter in suspension. And it's got this bright effervescence to it that drinks like a tiki drink almost. Like you're on the beach. This is the beer I want on a hot summer day. Last but not least is our newest addition to our core lineup. This is our Orange Vanilla Sunlight Cream Ale. And over the past few years, we've always done these kind of fun variant weekends where we'll take one of our core beers and add some stuff to them. We've done some fun things with Sunlight, Wemax, Osiris, Pechanga, you name it. But Sunlight is the one we always come back to because, again, this is our most popular beer. This is our biggest seller, kind of our flagship. So it's a lot of fun to play with such a well-known brand. To kind of say, hey, here's our classic. Here's a fun little take on it. And over the years, we've done some different things with this. But we always come back to orange vanilla. It's such a classic combination that goes so well with the cream ale because it kind of reminds people of the, what do they call them, dreamsicles, orange vanilla ice cream pops, Flintstones push pops, those kind of things. And that's such a nostalgic feel, especially people that are in their late 20s and early 30s that grew up with these types of treats. And now we're drinking beer because we're adults. And let's put those two great things together to make a really awesome product. So this started as a fun kind of taproom only release and turned into a big can production, and now it is one of our best-selling beers. We use 3 types of orange. We use a marshmallow flavoring for the vanilla character. Altogether, the goal of this was to make it taste and smell like an orange dreamsicle, but still be a beer. And that's the big problem we have with some of these kind of fun, quirky beers out there is at some point there's so much just stuff added to them that it doesn't taste like a beer anymore. What's the point after that? So this still tastes like Sunlight Cream Ale, but there's that really wonderful orange and vanilla character that were added to it later on in the brewing process. Yeah, flavors, orange and vanilla. That's about it. It's wonderful. With a hint of gratiness on the end, very light bitterness. There is no sweetness added, but that marshmallow we use adds a perception of sweetness. So it's kind of a neat kind of taste that we can make you think you're tasting something that's sweet, even though there's no sugar added to it, which is a really great product in my mind. And people have absolutely fallen in love with it this summer. ABV, same as Sunlight, 5.3%. IBU is about 15. But other than that, it is a great addition to our already stellar lineup. Looks like Sunlight Cream Ale, as it should. Yeah, oranges and vanilla. This smells like my childhood. It's wonderful. Oh, beautiful. Orange, vanilla, candy, ice cream. Oh, that's a wonderful beer. This, yeah, oh man. wonderful, wonderful thing we did with this guy here, guys. Enjoy this. Cheers. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed all of that. That was a lot of information in a very short period of time, but as you experience these beers, if you have any questions, feel free to ask someone here. People have been working here for a long time, including myself. We know our beers. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you get to drink some of these beers and start appreciating some of these flavors a little bit more and be able to express what Sun King beers really mean to everybody. Cheers. Is that too corny and cheesy?
Nope, I like it.
Nailed it.